Okay, folks, here we go. We back again. All right. Well, I know it's been a while since I've been on, but I mean, we've been working. I mean, what else can I say? However, talk about today is concession, the concession business. Number one would be a food cart. Food carts actually is probably the most economical way to get into the concession business now. And a lot of people look down on it, and I don't know why. Because when you see a person out there with that push cart, or you see a person out there with that hot dog cart, and you think, that they're not really making a lot of money, let me tell you, a lot of those guys will make, depending on their location, they'll make from $200 to $500 a day in about 3 hours, maybe 4, depending on if they do like a route or if they set up in different places. But that is the best way to get in. And your cost of entry to get in that way too is relatively cheap. It's going to run you about $1,500 to $3,000. And remember, when I give you these prices, I'm giving you these prices assuming that in some cases you'll buy something that's used but in good quality, or you might buy something that's a little less quality, that's new. So it is with a push cart. Now, the problem with a push cart is that you're exposed to the weather. So I don't want to say it's a young man's game, because that's really not true. But the younger you are, the better off you're going to be, because the summers get hot, the winters get cold, and so just know that you're going to be exposed to the elements with that business. However, that's probably the easiest way to get in the business, start generating money. Two, your overhead. Your overhead's low, very low overhead. So you don't have to worry about gas for your push cart. Depending on if you're in a city or not, you don't have to worry about renting a spot, because in a lot of cases when you're setting up a push cart, a lot of times there's really no money exchange. A person might have a little dealership and they want you to come in there and set up your cart, for their customers so they can come out and get hot dogs. Or you might set up in your city, if it allows it, downtown, and there might be a vending fee, that you pay at the beginning of the year, but everybody pays that anyway. But that is the lowest cost entry, least amount of overhead. The second thing, or the second way that you can get into the concession business is setting up a tent. You have to keep in mind that your setup time is going to be a lot more entailed, because basically you're kind of building your location. And so you're going to be limited in the places that you can set up, because like if you're going to do a community, no community is going to want you to come in and set up a tent, unless it's something like a block party or something that they're doing. So you're going to have a limited amount of venues that you can do. However, again, startup costs, not too bad. You can set up, you can get a little tent set up, depending on what you're vending, for around $2,000 to $8,000. Now, when I throw out these numbers, I know there are going to be people out there that's going to say, Winston, I went in, I set up tents, and it didn't cost me that. But what I'm trying to give you guys is not a fairy tale price, but a realistic price, a number that you can work with to actually start this type of, to start your concession business. I'm not going to give you a fantasy. Now, whenever you talk about tents is like this. You can go with say the 5,000, or you can hit that level and pretty much get everything that you need. But now with tents, you can go all the way up. You can go to fair level. Now those tents, are made of heavy metal, got ground anchors for them. Some of those tents can go up to $20,000. But you get what you paid for. If you get a tent like that, it's going to be solid construction, and when you set it up, it's almost going to kind of feel like a house in a way. but setup time is going to be a factor. Just keep that in mind. However, with a tent, you're going to have a lot of space. That's one of the advantages of it, and you're going to have a fair amount of protection from the elements. The only problem that I've seen with tents is that wind. If you get into an event and it's heavy wind, I've seen tent people struggle in wind. So just keep that in mind. And it's not that it's a game changer. It's just you got to plan for that. If you plan for it, you can handle it. So that would be number two. Yeah, number two would be tents. Now, and let me, before I go any further, let me also say what I'm talking about when I talk about my setup and when I talk about the price and what it would cost to get into it. I'm talking about for the regular Joe. You got endless amounts of money. Hey, the sky's the limit. You can spend a lot of money on this stuff, but you really just don't have to. So now the third area that we're going to look at is concession trailers. Now, in my opinion, I think concession trailers are probably the most flexible in that you can take a concession trailer, like I have a small concession trailer, and I can put it on the sidewalk. It's not a huge trailer. Now, if you got a big trailer, you won't be able to do it. But if you get a small trailer, something fitted for what you need. Don't get something small just to get something small, but fit it for what you need. A lot of times they're a lot more flexible, and setup time on them is almost nil. Other than it's going to take you normally 15 to 30 minutes to set one up because you got to stabilize it and all of that. But setup time is about 15 minutes, and you should be able to set up in most places, communities, events, pretty much anything you can handle with a trailer. The only downfall to a trailer is you got to have something to pull a trailer with. So you're going to have a vehicle with the trailer in order to pull it. With a tent, you could pack. I've seen people put tents in cars, so you can pack up 2 or 3 cars and you can set up tents. But with a trailer, you're going to definitely need probably a truck to pull it with. And that's probably the biggest thing with trailers. Now, with a trailer though, you're going to be looking at about $5,000 to $15,000, depending on what you're setting up. And when I talk about that money, what I'm talking about is a basic setup for, even if you're doing, hot food, or if you're doing like ice cream or any type of dessert. Now, that $15,000 is probably going to be a little controversial because if you're doing like hot foods, okay, for example, if you're doing steaks and steak cheese, you're going to need ventilation and all of that. The price can go extremely high. But some people, even when they're doing hot foods, they only bring in warmers. They're not really bringing, stuff to actually cook with. Now, when you start getting into cooking, you're going to need halo systems. You're going to need ventilation. So you're going to be upwards of probably with a trailer, you're going to be upwards around $60,000 to $80,000. That's me being real with you. Now, there is a big advantage to this time of year. Okay, let me just throw this out there. Also, right now is the perfect time to be getting into vending, and the reason why I say that is people that go out and try vending, they've tried vending, and they've decided through a season, hey, this is just not for me. It's too much work, too much running around. That's fine. So there are some deals. So especially if you're doing hot foods, a lot of these, barbecue guys and all of that, a lot of these guys are packing up and they done. And the market for their vehicles is kind of limited because, you got to be the type of guy that want to do concessions and vending. So start looking in Facebook, your newspaper, trader, a lot of the trade publications, and start looking for your trailer now. And that's for next year. It's too late this year. It's late in the season. It's really not a lot of big events left for this year, especially if you're trying to become established. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. So trailers would be number 3, okay? And the last one is food trucks, okay? Food trucks, again, your startup costs, you're gonna be looking at anywhere from 40,000 to about 120,000, 120, 160. And that's just the facts of it. If you want reliability and you want to get out there and start doing what you do, whatever that may be, if you go the higher end, so if you go to the 80,000 and up, you can get something that whenever you get in there in the morning and you all tired and you ready to go to this event and you turn to start, it's going to start. So that's where you want to be, So when you start talking about getting a food truck, just know that you get what you pay for, just like with a car. I mean, just like when you buy anything, I'm going to say a car, like when you buy anything, you get what you pay for. So you want to get something that's going to give you the least amount of headache. Now, if you're a good mechanic, that's sweat equity. If you're a good mechanic, hey, you can go out and buy a $5,000 vending truck. If you're a guy that don't know that much about being a mechanic, or you don't want to do that work, I would not buy a cheap vending truck. Matter of fact, I would suggest for somebody that's just getting into the business, don't go the food truck route. And the reason why is because if you're going to go the food truck route, just know this. You have got to work that truck. You can't, a food truck guy can't take a week off during the summer. That's his prime time. That truck needs to be going somewhere every day. Why? Because you got a $100,000 truck. So you need to be making 200,000 plus, and you think, oh man, 200,000, that's a lot. It's really not. If you working it, it's not. Let's go back to the guy with the food cart. $300 a day, okay? Multiply that out times 365, which nobody's gonna really work 365, but multiply it out. And then you start realizing that a cart ain't a bad idea, because your overhead is less and you have to make less to meet your overhead. I'm gonna do a whole nother video on your cost and your expenses and all of that. But just know you really want to get in as low as possible, but you don't want to get into the point that you're getting in so low that you're gonna hurt yourself. And what I mean when I say you're gonna hurt yourself is you buy a cheap vending truck, and then every time you got to go to an event, you got to go to a mechanic. And one of the disadvantages of a vending truck is if the truck broke, you're down. If you have a trailer, if your truck break, you can go rent a truck. That doesn't shut the show down. But whenever you have a concession business that has a truck, know you better have a truck that's in good shape. Make sure all of your systems work on it. But I could probably just do a whole session just on vending trucks. However, I'm just gonna leave it at that. And now what I wanted to go through was just to kind of wrap it all up. Whenever you go into concession, this is one thing you want to keep in mind. You are a salesman, which is duh. You already know that you're a salesman. But the other thing that you need to understand is that there's a show element to vending, and part of that show element is you need to have signs, big signs. You need to have flags. You need to have a lot of things that draw people's attention to your vending trailer or a truck or whatever you're doing. You need to be like almost a billboard whenever you show up at places. You don't want to be like, huddle in the corner. I'm just over here trying to sell. You want to be there like, I'm here, and this is what we selling. A good example, if you want to know what to watch on TV that'll show you the show part is, watch anything on YouTube about Asian street food. I mean, there's a reason why the Asians pretty much created capitalism. If you go to and you watch some of their street food vendors, you see that they have stuff like scorpions. How many scorpions you think they're selling? But what scorpions do is they bring you to that booth. Why? Because there's scorpions at the booth. They do a lot of things. They will have desserts and stuff that we do, but if you see how they do it, it is 100% show. I mean, it's beauty. So take a look at Asian street food, and you can look anywhere. I'm going to say South Korea because I've seen a lot of South Korean street food vendors, and look at these guys. You can learn a lot from them. Number two, and the number two thing is, you need to buy what you need, not what you want. If you look at my vending trailer, what I did is I put all of my graphics and stuff on one side of the trailer. Oh yeah, it's cool to have all that graphics on your trailer, front side, back side, but you're wasting money. And the reason why I say you're wasting money is, when people get into business, they go for first, I'm a big deal. You got to get over yourself. You ain't a big deal. No, nobody's ever heard of the company the name that you just came up with. Nobody's ever heard of it. Nobody cares. Now that is part of the show. Don't get me wrong, but spend your money where you really need it, and where you really need to spend your money in is what you're selling, right? And what it takes to sell that product. That's it. All the other stuff is more fluff. We use residential freezers because residential chest freezers that go down to -20. That's fine. Now I could get commercial freezers and they go down to -20. The only difference is if you're opening and closing those freezers, if you have a residential freezer, it's perfect. Now, if you hire somebody to open and close that freezer, you better get a commercial freezer because they're designed for that. So just keep that in mind every time you purchase something, what it's going to be used for. Whenever I was in Puerto Rico, I used to go out to the beach in Fajardo, or no, it was El Junque, and there was always a guy out there. I can't remember his name for anything, but he used to always say, he had this knife where he'd cut the pinchos up and he'd make the pinchos on the beach, and he would show me that knife and he says, Winston, he said, this knife has put my daughter through college, and it's just old nub of a knife, but I know what he was saying, and what he was saying was, this tool has lasted me for years and it's put my daughter through college. So that's what you need to think about when you're thinking about going into business. You buy what you need for your trade. I mean, the grill that he had, it's pretty much a piece of tin and some charcoal on a piece of tin and a grate over top of it. That's all he needed to make a quality pincho. That's all he needed. Now he could have went out and got some gas induction $400,000 grill set, but he didn't need that. But if you need it, get it, because you need it. Anyway, that's enough. I'm not even going to go into that anymore. And the last thing is, only sell one thing. Now, if you're going to be a big deal and you're going to have a $300,000 setup, okay, you can sell multiple things. But I'm saying, if you're just a regular Joe, you're starting in a business, only sell one thing. Don't get in there and say, well, I'm gonna sell hot dogs, I'm gonna sell funnel cakes, I'm gonna sell ice cream. No, that's not how concession works. You're not going to be known as the guy that sells everything, unless you're big enough. I mean, if you're a big enough operation, out here, I'm trying to think of the Chevalier is one company out of Kentucky. Them boys set up, they got everything, but their setup is probably a $500,000 setup. So if you got that, then yeah, you can do it. But if you're just a regular Joe, and again, I'm saying this video is for a regular Joe, don't be selling everything. I mean, that's a bad idea. You guys later, and like I said, get out there and sell something. I mean, the vending world is a decent world, but like I told you in the beginning, I'm taking you on this journey. So just stay tuned, and I'm really hoping that these videos will help somebody. That's really why I'm doing it. So, you know, if you like or subscribe, that would work because other people can see it, you know, and maybe they can learn something from it. You have a good one.